Hello everyone! In this week's video, I'm doing the Six Fanarts challenge. If you don't know what the Six Fanarts challenge is, it is a challenge where people list characters for you to draw, and you draw fan art for 6 of them. I posted on my Instagram and Twitter asking my followers to suggest characters for this video, and thank you all so much for all of the suggestions. I've done this challenge 2 times before, and this time I picked 3 of the suggestions, and also randomly picked 3 of the suggestions. That way we get some variety. So yeah, that's what we're doing. Let's jump into the video. So this first one was randomly picked, and it is Usaida Yoshihito from School Babysitters. I was quite excited when this was randomly picked because I love School Babysitters. It's one of my favorite anime. It's so cute and adorable. If you like slice of life anime, I recommend it. It's really cute. And I've actually drawn myself into it before, I think in my first drawing myself into anime scenes video. That was a lot of fun. So because I do need to draw 6 characters, I'll be keeping all of these drawings as simple headshots. I also didn't do finished line art because line art always takes me a while, and by not doing it, I can get these done in time. I also kept the coloring pretty simple. I didn't go super detailed or anything. So I am trying to get these done fast, but for some reason I was able to get this one done like super fast. I finished it in about 30 minutes. I have no idea why I was able to finish it so fast. Most of the fan arts took me about an hour to an hour and a half for the more detailed ones. I think it's because Usaida's character design is really in my comfort zone. I just had a really easy time drawing him in my style. I was a little nervous about his hair, or I didn't want to draw him looking too girly because he has a pink ponytail, but when drawing hairstyles like this on male characters, I try to keep the hair looking a bit sharper or angular, if that makes sense. I don't totally know how to explain it, but I try to not make it super fluffy and round, but a bit more, sleek, I guess. I don't know. I try to make the hair look more boyish, I guess. I wasn't totally sure how I should color his eyes. With the way the anime is styled, his eyes are kind of mostly a dark brownish color, but they have some pink in the bottom of them. So I decided to make the base color be pink, and then shaded it with a sort of muted burgundy. I feel like it gives off a similar look. Also, I always kind of have a hard time stylizing characters in my style that have really small irises, because I tend to draw really big irises, and I think it often looks kind of funny if I try to make them tiny. But I did make the irises smaller than I usually do. I hope it looks okay. I think I've said this before, but I really wish the School Babysitters manga would be released in America. I really want to read it, and I don't really like reading on Scanlation websites. The anime only had like 12 episodes, so yeah, I want to see more of the story and the characters. But anyways, here's my picture of Usaida Yoshihito. He was surprisingly fun to draw, and I really enjoyed it. So let's see who I'm going to be drawing next. Many people wanted to see Venti from Genshin Impact in my style, so I decided to draw Venti. I've actually wanted to draw him for a really long time because I do really like his design, but for some reason I just never got around to drawing him. When it comes to designs, Venti has one of my favorites. I really love the overall aesthetic and feel, and also the color scheme. I like it so much I used it as inspiration for my design when I drew myself as a Genshin Impact character for my Turning Myself into Video Game Characters video. That video was a lot of fun. I want to do another one of those, but I'm having a hard time deciding which games to draw myself into. So if you have any ideas, let me know. So I am drawing Venti in a straight on front view. What view I draw the character in depends on where I plan to place them in the Six Fanarts template. So characters that go in the middle, I draw in front view, and characters that go in the right box will be turned to the left, and characters that will be in the left box will be turned to the right. I do things like this because it makes it easier for me to decide what view I want to draw the character in, and it also keeps me from drawing all of them in front view because that's the fastest one for me to do. So it encourages me to also do 3/4 view. Even though front view is the fastest for me to finish, Venti's drawing is one of the ones that took me the longest, mostly because he does have a lot of different details. And I also had to draw the braids. Braids are always a bit tricky for me to draw, but if you want to see a more detailed process for how I draw braids, I'll link one of my older tutorial videos where I show my process. So I do really like Venti. I think he's cute, and I have considered rolling for him. I probably would if I didn't have Kazuha. They're both Animo or Wind, so I don't really feel like I need Venti. But Venti is a bow user, so that is kind of nice. I don't have very many of those. But I also find Venti to be a bit, annoying at times. Venti lovers, please don't be mad at me. It's just during events and stuff, it feels like all he talks about is drinks. And I know there's more to his character and his story than that. But like sometimes that seems to be the only thing he thinks about, and I'm like, Venti, focus. We're doing more important things right now. Like I said, for these drawings I plan to keep the coloring simple, but I do feel like I rendered Venti a little bit more than other characters. I really liked how the sketch turned out, and I felt like rendering it a bit more, so I did. His hair was a lot of fun to color. I really liked adding the gradient of the lighter color. I also really loved coloring his eyes. I was trying to include details that I saw from his in-game model, like the little dot details around the pupil and the lighter color within the pupil and so on. I really like how Venti's eyes have a lot of contrast in color and include different hues of blue and teal. It's really pretty. Lastly, I add some highlights just to make things a bit more interesting and feel less dull. And I am done. Here is my drawing of Venti. I hope you all like how he looks in my style. I'm really glad I finally got to draw him. This next character is one that was randomly picked. The comment said to draw Sarah or any character from The Kiss Bet. If you don't know, The Kiss Bet is a webtoon, and it is actually one that I read and that I'm a fan of. So I was really excited when this comment was randomly chosen. So the comment specifically mentioned Sarah. She is the main character and I do really like her. But it also said I could draw any character, so I decided to draw Oliver because Oliver is best boy. I mostly wanted to draw his super fluffy hair. It sounded fun to draw. Plus I just really like him as a character. The Kiss Bet is a really cute webtoon. If you read webtoons, I recommend checking it out, especially if you like romance or drama kind of comics. It's really funny and I like a lot of the characters. So one part I was a bit nervous about with Oliver is his glasses. I've never drawn glasses shaped like this, and I was worried about not having enough space between the eyebrows, glasses, and the eyes. I didn't want them to all smush together. But thankfully I feel like it turned out okay. I was able to make there be enough space where it doesn't all look too crowded, I think. For Oliver's facial expression, he's making this kind of, would you call it a pouty kind of face? I don't know. It's a face he makes a lot in the comic. He kind of looks a bit annoyed and he kind of like sticks his mouth kind of down. One thing I noticed when I decided to draw fan art and I used the eyedropper tool to select the exact colors for the character is that I used very pale colors for my character's skin. They are all like ghosts or something. My sister Reagan and I were talking about this and she said, well, maybe it's because you compare the skin tones to your own skin. You're really pale, so you use a similar color for your characters. But then when you have pale characters, they're even paler. And when you have characters that you think are kind of tan, they're actually just normal. So yeah, I thought that was a kind of funny thing I noticed while coloring Oliver. Speaking of coloring, I decided to keep it in a style that's kind of similar to the comic. I noticed the comic has a lot of highlights all around the characters, so I added that to my drawing as well. I mostly kept the colors as just flat colors, but I did add some gradients and a little cel shading here and there, mostly on the skin. Recently I had the idea that it might be fun to draw myself into webtoons. Kind of like how I draw myself into anime scenes, but with webtoons. But I'm not sure how many of you read webtoons, so I wasn't sure if you would all find it interesting. But if you like the idea of me drawing myself into webtoons, you can let me know, and I'd be happy to give it a try because I think it sounds pretty fun. I have a lot of webtoons that I like to read. So here is Oliver from The Kiss Bet in my style. I'm happy I got to draw him. I've been wanting to draw some fan art for The Kiss Bet for a really long time. Next we have Dolores from the Disney movie Encanto. This is one of the suggestions that I picked. I picked it because I've been wanting to draw Dolores for a very long time. I did draw her once in my sketchbook, but I didn't really like how that one turned out, so I wanted to do a nicer drawing that did her more justice. Many of you also suggested Mirabelle and Bruno. I've drawn Mirabelle before, so I didn't want to draw her again, and I was considering drawing Bruno because I do really like Bruno. but I didn't want to draw his facial hair. I always find facial hair to be very hard to draw, and I have a hard time making it work for my characters. So yeah, I chose Dolores from the suggestions instead, even though she was suggested less. I was a little sad because my screen recorder corrupted the footage of me drawing Dolores. I wanted to show this part in a bit more detail, since things are kind of different for this drawing. Thankfully, I still have this really sped up footage captured by Clip Studio Paint. Or else I wouldn't have been able to show you the sketching at all, and that would have been sad. I think Dolores might be my favorite character. She doesn't have a ton of lines in the movie, but I just really like her for some reason. Her design is really cute, and I just overall like her character. When drawing Encanto characters, I feel like I need to kind of change my style a bit to make it look like the characters, because I want to capture their specific features. So I feel like the style ends up looking a bit more Disney-like, but I also feel like you can still tell it's my style, especially in the eyes for some reason. I feel like the eyes are a very distinctive aspect of my style. I was a bit nervous about drawing Dolores' lips. She wears a very red lipstick, and I usually don't define lips very much, but I tried my best. As I was drawing this, I was listening to Turn It Down on loop. It's a fan-made song inspired by Encanto, but they were actually able to get Dolores' voice actor to sing it, which I think is super cool. It's a really good song and super catchy. If you're a fan of Encanto, I recommend listening to it. It's super good, and I kinda wish it was in the movie. Dolores' hair did give me a bit of trouble. Like I said, I'm trying to keep the coloring quick and simple, but her hair is very detailed and has a lot of curls. If I had more time, I feel like I could have gone in and rendered the hair more. But yeah, I was trying to keep things kind of fast. So I ended up just using kind of abstract shapes and colors to kind of define the hair and its form, and maybe give an idea that it's curly. Something I didn't really notice about Dolores' outfit is all of the little patterns it has. Like, I thought her bow was just red, but then when I took a closer look, it seems to have a kind of sound wave pattern all over it. Her dress also seems to have a kind of sound-inspired pattern on it. There are so many little details. Also, I love the skirts in Encanto. I love how they are animated. Like, sometimes when I'm watching the movie, I just stare at the skirts because I find the animation of them kind of mesmerizing. I saw a clip on Twitter, and one of the animators that worked on Encanto was creating references for themselves, and they were using bed sheets and wrapping them around themselves so they could see how the fabric moves. I admire the dedication, and I think it's really smart to make your own references. For now, I'm keeping all of the backgrounds blank, but once I put the drawings into the template, I'll add some colors to their backgrounds. I wanted to wait until I had them all together so I could make the background colors feel cohesive or make sure they don't clash. So here's my drawing of Dolores. I hope I did her justice. This next character was randomly chosen, and it is Hinata Hyuga from Naruto. I've never watched Naruto, but I do know this character because she always pops up in the search results when I'm looking for reference pictures of Hinata from Haikyuu. They both have the same family name, so sometimes they pop up when you're searching one of them. When I was looking at pictures of Hinata, there were ones of her looking younger and ones of her looking older. I decided to draw her when she looks older. I felt like it'd be easier to draw, and I thought she looked really pretty. But I did find her hairstyle when she is younger to be very interesting, and it did look kind of fun to draw. I feel like Naruto is one of those anime that like so many people have watched because I guess it's really mainstream. But yeah, I've never watched it. I always find anime with a bunch of episodes to be kind of hard to get into because like even if I watched one episode a day, it would take me over a year to watch all of the episodes. Plus it's not the usual kind of anime I like to watch. I like shoujo, slice of life, drama, sports, things like that. Also, there are quite a few anime I'm watching this season. For like the last year, there hasn't been much for anime that I have been interested in. But this season has like several, which surprised me. I've started watching Ayoashi, Shikimori's Not Just a Cutie, Love While Play, and Dance Dancier? Sorry, I don't really know how to say that one. We'll see if I finish any of them. If anime get too inappropriate or weird for my liking, I stop watching them. But so far I like them. I am behind on a few of the anime. I'm having a hard time keeping up with all of them. But I am happy to have some more sports anime. I wonder when the next season of Haikyuu will come. I've been patiently waiting for it. I want to watch Haikyuu so bad. I finished the manga, but I want to see it all animated because it's cool in the manga, but like seeing it animated is extra cool. One part that was fun was adding her hair highlight. It's kind of a distinctive shape that's part of her character design. I don't often think about having hair highlights be a part of a character's design. I've never done that for any of my characters, but I do want to keep it in mind as something to consider. So, I actually always thought Hinata was blind because of how her eyes look. You know how shows will stylize people's eyes when they are blind? I thought it looked kind of like that, but when I googled it, I learned that she wasn't blind. In the show, her eyes are just purple it seems, but I did find some scenes where you can see the indication of a pupil, so I decided to add a light colored pupil along with some highlights. She doesn't have highlights in the show, but I just really wanted to add the highlights, so I did. I can't help myself. I need to make the eyes look shiny. So here's my drawing of Hinata Hyuga. I hope those of you who watch Naruto like my interpretation of her. And last but not least, I'm drawing Anya Forger from Spy Family. This is one of the suggestions that I chose because I really wanted to draw Anya. She's so cute. And a ton of you wanted to see me draw her as well. So I was talking earlier about how I usually prefer anime that are a bit more lighthearted and fluffy. So this anime is a bit out of the usual genre I watch. It has more action and more violence because it involves spies and assassins. But I have watched some of it. I decided to check it out because I kept seeing stuff about it and the overall concept seemed interesting. And yeah, Anya's so cute and I love her so much. I love how she really likes peanuts and her overall personality is just adorable. I feel like she's a really well written little kid and the fact that she can read people's minds makes things very funny. I'm hoping the anime won't become too violent for me. As many of you know, I don't like when things get too violent, but we'll see. If it does, I'll just watch Anya funny scene moments on YouTube. As I was picking suggestions for this video, it made me realize how many characters I want to make fan art for. There were so many good suggestions and so many characters I wanted to draw. I feel like I could easily do this challenge again. One character I really wanted to draw was Oliver from the Webtoon Space Boy, but I didn't see anyone suggest him. Space Boy is one of my favorite webtoons and it's so good. I highly recommend it. It's also available in book form and the books are just beautiful. So yeah, I really wanted to draw Oliver. Drawing Anya was a lot of fun. I don't draw younger characters super often, so it was a fun change. I was trying to make sure she looked young instead of just like a chibi. I mean, she is kind of chibi-like, but I didn't want it to look like I'm drawing an older character but just chibi-fying them, if that makes sense. I wanted her to look young. I also really liked coloring her eyes. They had details that are different from what I usually do, like the lighter bit of color around the pupil. I find that to be really interesting. It was a lot of fun getting to draw so many different characters with different art styles. When I do these kind of videos, it reminds me how different styles can be and how much freedom we have with stylization. It also helps to push me to draw things a bit differently than I usually would, and to try new things. So here are all of my drawings for the 6 Fan Arts Challenge. Thank you so much to everyone that suggested characters for me to draw. Also, I kind of customized the template a little bit just because I felt like it. I wanted to give it my own personal touch. So yeah, I hope you like how these turned out. I had a lot of fun. Before we end, I want to thank my wonderful patrons for their support. It means a ton to me. If you want to be listed alongside these wonderful people, you can check out my Patreon page. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next week in my next video. Bye!